from the Backstage newspaper, which was the print newspaper at the time. And there was only one thing that interested me, and it was this folk rock group that was touring the world. And I'm like, I sing a little, I'll audition for this. So I went in, and it was for the 60s group, the Mamas and the Papas. And they were a huge group in the 1960s.
Wait a minute, you were auditioning for the actual group, Mamas and Papas?
Yes, the original Papas toured with new Mamas, and this was to find the new Mamas. So I went in, and I had no idea that, because they were vague about it in the little blurb in Backstage newspaper. They were like, international touring folk rock group, looking for singers. And I was like, okay. And I went in, and there was John Phillips, you know, like the founder, one of the founders. And I was like, oh, okay. And I had a call back, and then they called me a week later, and John Phillips called me at my day job and said, get your passport, kid. You're going to Germany in 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, I was in front of 45,000 people in a stadium singing Mamas and Papas songs. And I was like, what is happening?
Oh, wait, stop, pause, hold up.
Did you not know this?
No, I didn't. Wait, so you toured with Mamas, and you were a Mamas and Papas. Hold on, I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, except for you. Hold on. Let me get you back. Those of you who are just joining us, I'm so sorry. I just realized there was a lot of people waiting in the waiting room. My apologies. Sorry. Okay. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. And then I don't know how to stop the chats to everyone kind of thing. How do I do that again? No, host only.
Host only.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's a mama. It's amazing. Yeah.
I just want to say hello to Susan Sampliner. She's a wonderful Broadway company manager, a current company manager of Wicked on Broadway, and one of the finest people in the industry you'd ever care to meet. So hello, Susan.
Hi. Yay. Thank you for joining us.
You bet.
Amazing. Okay, good. I apologize, you guys. I'm still a little new at the Zoom thing, and we haven't done an interview like this on Zoom. We've been doing it on Instagram TV, so I apologize okay. But now we're here, and she's talking about the Mamas and Papas, and I'm gonna mute everybody except for Lisa. So here we go. Okay, go ahead. So you're in Germany. Just take us there. So you ended up auditioning for it right after Broadway, right?
I auditioned for the Mamas and Papas
Not after Broadway, right after your training. Sorry.
Right after training. Yeah, a year after training, and it was wild. But I missed telling stories. I did it for 4.5 years. We'd go out for a month, we'd come back. We'd go out for a weekend, we'd come back. So all along, I'm working at the office as my survival job while doing these huge concerts or the small concerts with the Mamas and the Papas. And but I missed telling stories, so I always stayed in acting class. And
you came back and you're doing a survival job. You stayed in acting class?
Always, yeah. And then later in my 20s, that's when I found the right teachers for me for voice as well as acting through song. Because you probably know this, Christy, as a dancer, some dancers are so comfortable expressing themselves through movement. Yeah. And if they're told to dance a song, it's like, watch out, take a seat, you're in for something great. But when they go to act a song, they're a little frozen at first. Yep. And for me, I was an actor with text, really comfortable, but with singing, I would just listen to myself and worry about how I sounded and compare myself, and I was not generous to myself in my head. So I needed to find the right teachers. I found the right voice teacher, and I found the right acting teacher. And soon I booked my first Broadway show, which was.
Okay. So how long did you train before how long were you with those right teachers? And what does that mean to you when you say I found my right teachers? What did those teachers do for you?
My voice teacher was able to work with my voice, which is sort of a less conventional musical theater singer. I didn't come from a classical trained background, and I didn't come from a big Broadway belt background. I came from a folk rock, folk type of, a little bit more breath in my sound. And she was able to help me release tension, learn how to place things, and expand my range.
Who is this?
And her name is Andrea Green. She's one of Joan Lader's associate teachers
I
in
was
New York
gonna
City.
say, because I trained with Joan. I was wondering if it was Joan.
Yes. So Andrea got me ready just to be a little bit more versatile. And then Craig, my acting teacher, I was with him for under 4 months and before I booked Superstar, which Susan was our company manager for that.
Oh, really?
That's how I met her, yes, in 2000. So that was my debut. I couldn't believe it. I was able to leave that office job after 11 and a half years. And I thought, you know, my life was about to begin. And it did in a way. I felt like I was free. And yeah, and then I started just acting, and I haven't not gotten.
Pause. You played, what did you play in Jesus Christ Superstar?
I was in the ensemble. I couldn't have been more thrilled. So, you know, I played the prostitute and the leper and the disciple, and and it was great fun. It was so fun. And it was a 6-month run. And
what was Broadway to you? Like, so there's a few in here, you know, that like Broadway's the dream. And I hear this a lot with my students of saying, like, when I get on Broadway, I will know I have arrived, or I will feel like I've arrived. And that's such an interesting statement, you know, when we hear that. But for you, did Broadway meet its expectations? And what was that experience for you, your debut?
I was so relieved to get out of that cubicle that I found every moment to be heavenly, even the challenging moments, even the less than kind reviews, even the spats, you know, even my personal issues that were going on at the time. I just felt like bet it was Christmas, and I just scored, like, I just scored big. I felt like I was let out of jail. And that somebody, Gail Edwards, the director, that somebody saw something in me, and that Tara Rubin, the casting director, saw something in me. And after so many years of just, you know, slogging to try to stop the negative narrative in my own head, it was like, oh, maybe I do have something to contribute. And I was 29. So, you know, it took me a while to feel like I had something worthwhile to contribute. And go ahead.
Why do you think it was Broadway that made you feel worthwhile that you had something worthwhile to contribute?
It was being hired at all. I mean, this job, I was very fortunate. After the Mamas and Papas, I didn't do a lot of like chorus in regional theater or small parts in regional theater. I hadn't done any of that. So I'd done the Mamas and the Papas, and then Broadway.
Wow.
In an ensemble track.
That's interesting. We have Legna, and that's like an artist, like a music artist. She's like a music artist before, and now she's doing musical theater with us. And it's just interesting, like, to see that trajectory. And she's a little bit older as well. So, okay, so you get the Broadway show, and you're like, all right, I'm free. Do you think something unlocked in your head a little bit?
Yes, and I was in a personal relationship that wasn't right for me, and I was able to decide, this isn't right for me. I have to acknowledge the truth and free myself there as well. And then I did feel like my life began anew when I was honest with myself about that relationship, and I was out of that office for forever.
I've never heard that. That is one thing I've never heard. That is incredible. I cannot believe you worked in a cubicle for 11 and a half years.
Let me just preface by saying, if I had to have a day job, and if I could have asked for, a day job that would have worked for me, it would have been this job. And the people there were so kind, and the boss was flexible with me, and I owe them so, so much. And I love them, and I'm so grateful to them. And they all knew this is not what I wanted to be doing. and they just hung in there with me and supported me. So I was free, but it's not because they were awful.
No, right, yeah. But that's super, but you felt, I meant free in your head. I felt like I was wondering, because I was hearing you say, like, the negative narrative is what you had said, you know, and like, to me, the negative narrative, like, was freed a little bit when you were able to be hired, you were seen, but it doesn't have to be Broadway. It can be anything, like you said. I was hired. You went from a music artist to like Broadway, and that's it. Here we go. So now that's really thrilling. It was a 6-month limited run. Was that what it was?
No, it's just, it closed after 6 months.
Okay, great. But you got to, and that's the other thing. Shows close.
Mm-hmm.
Just have like a couple days. Like, it's like, once you get to, you know, it's like what's happening right now. Oh my God, you know, so it shows that I can't even come back, you know, after this is done. Like, that's just the reality of the business that we're in. It's just really hard. But you weather the storm. We weather it.
Yes, and we make choices, you know. It's like, I know a lot of people who are at the top of the profession in New York City who are wondering, you know, is this sustainable? Am I at a place in my life where I want to wait and go back to pursuing this full force ahead? And I think that the answer for many of them is yes. And I think an answer for a few of them is, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. This was cute when I was 25, but I'm 38, 39, 40. What is a good decision for my life? What does that look like? And I think it's good to ask those questions. But you know, Broadway isn't the end all be all. I have a lot of incredibly talented colleagues who've never been there and don't even aspire to be there. They are really just want to tell stories. And they live outside of New York, or they do all these beautiful regional theater work, which they get to play these roles, which they might not get to in New York. So just know there's a life in the theater, or a life as an actor is possible. It doesn't have just one, you know, one track. There are tons of paths to artistic fulfillment and satisfaction and a paycheck, you know, making a livelihood. It's not just Broadway.
It's definitely not just Broadway. But gosh, it's so crazy. It's fun to have the dream. It's just interesting to hear you kind of like, it's almost like the arts just kind of like took you without you knowing it, and then kind of like, you know what I mean? I keep thinking now lately with all these interviews that like there's this like magical hand that like scoops up, that's like the arts. And it comes in and it scoops all of us, whether we're behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, like there's something about it that we're drawn to. And it like took you in, and where it takes you, who knows? But you get, either you follow it, or you work hard for something, or you, like you said, I knew in my belly I had to go. I just had to go to the ADA. And then you're like, I don't know, I just kind of went, but I needed to go.
And it was the perfect place. So I do try to trust that everything will be revealed. And if you know, you get out of it what you put in. So
that is true.
That's been true for me.
With every school too. Okay, so you're in New York, so then let's talk about your Broadway career. So let's just kind of go through it. So like you basically ended up going, like, you have so many regional amazing credits as well. So was it just kind of like Broadway, then some regional, Broadway, then some regional, Broadway, then some regional? That's
exactly right. And you know, regional doesn't pay as well. And there were times of like, oh, you know, I'm going to pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
But some of the most exciting work I've done is regional, and on Broadway. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's something special about New York City theater. But whether it's off Broadway, or there's something about regional theater in that you're there to create something. And it's a bit like being on tour, because when you're in a different city, this is your family and this is your job. This is why you're there. So it's not like in New York, it's incredible. There's a sense of like coming together, doing the show, and then everybody's off to their lives. And on tour or in a regional show, it's sort of like, we're here to make this. Yeah. It's just like, this is your tribe, make it work. And
this is your tribe, make it work.
And your whole reason for being in Cleveland is to do this piece for the people who bought a ticket. And so there's a focus there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is generally speaking. I mean, some tours, I'm sure everybody's out like, partying and stuff and not all that focused. But there's something about it that's very focused.
I think once the tour is in its circle of life, just like with New York and Broadway, right? It's like when with Chorus Line, we were like so focused and in our rehearsals, 6 weeks, did our tech, did our previews, nothing like that. And then we got through opening night, but once we got through past that, we were like, oh, okay. And you start to get your own routine and you do your own life. So you either see or hang with people from your show a little bit, or I don't know, it just depends on the group, really.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, for me, I'm not a social butterfly. So it's like all about the work. I mean, I've always been that way through the academy, through all my training. I'm like, I'm not here to make friends. I love you, but I'm just here to like learn and get better and get stronger. I guess it's a little antisocial, but I mean, I've always collected a few friends along the way who are keepers. So I guess I did all right, but I was never one to go out after the show. It was always just, I'm here and I need to do my best.
That came pretty natural to you because it was seeing like your, your environment at home was not that way. So I think that's pretty neat to see that like whatever that is about your spirit, Lisa, that like maybe intrinsically or.
I think so. I wasn't a great like general student. I wasn't like A's, all A's. But when it got to the artistic classes, I was like, oh, you better believe I'm focused here. And in my training, I was always just like, just laser focused.
Yeah, it makes me happy to hear that. So I'm going to give you a 2-word exercise for some of the jobs that you've done in your career. Okay. And basically, I just want you to I want you to tell me 2 words that you, like a takeaway. What was your takeaway? Just try to do it as best you can.
Okay.
So let's see here. I'm looking at takeaway from playing Meg in Brigadoon.
Does it have to just be 2 words?
It doesn't have to be, but just try.
Okay. Be brave.
Great. Why?
Because I was a very serious individual. And when I had that audition for Brigadoon, I didn't know Brigadoon. I'd never heard of Brigadoon. I just went in and I played and I was silly and I was jumping around. I had no idea who Meg was, but I was there to be honest.
Well, wait a minute. You didn't know? You didn't do the research? You didn't know?
I asked Craig, who is a musical theater, historian practically.
Yeah.
I said, what's Brigadoon? And he was in the other room and he said, well, it's about these people in Scotland and they go to sleep and they wake up 100 years later. And I was like in the other room and I said, could you be serious? What is it about really? And he's like, that's the plot. So yes, I did my research, but
Lisa.
But I didn't watch anyone else play Meg or watch any other productions. And so I had no preconceived idea about why I might be wrong for this part because I was an untraditional choice.
Right.
My Meg was obnoxious, not necessarily the conventional choice of someone who might be less appealing.
Yeah, you're definitely not conventional. I mean, that's what I think. Here's my little theory. You're unconventional because here's a little bit of my theory is I feel like with musical theater, we love musical theater, and those of us who are drawn to it are drawn to like this, most of us, right, might be drawn to the whole spectacle of the big shows and the things and the glamour and the, you know what I mean? Like the big shows. But when you come to put someone who does the work and has laser focus and has this acting training background and you put that person in a musical theater, it makes everybody go, oh.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know it could be like this.
Right.
Because I think the go-to for us as musical theater people is to be and to do, and you know what I mean? Like we have a little bit of a go-to unless we're untrained not to. and you represent that. So it's really nice to hear that you're like, yeah, that was unconventional, and I was doing this and that, and that's what makes us go, yes. And that's what makes you undeniable. And that's what I think is what I think. No, we can all be undeniable, but that's what makes you undeniable. At times, do you get every job? No, but when it's right, my God, it's right. So be brave, Meg.
Be brave. Yep.
Okay. So that was after, I'm just guessing, was that after Jesus Christ Superstar or a little after? Okay. So then let's go to, what about 2 words with Evita?
Vocal rest.
Great. Vocal rest. Eva Perone. Evita was at Gateway Playhouse. Okay. Next one. Let's do Wicked.
Self-care.
Yeah, we heard that, right? Holy mackerel. Self-care, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay, self-care. So Wicked, playing Elphaba, for those of us who, I mean, I love that show, and I think so many people do. Had you seen it before you had done it?
Yes, I was lucky enough to go to a preview where they were honoring Stephen Schwartz, and there was a gathering afterwards, and I was sitting there, and I loved every second. I loved it. I thought the show was brilliantly written. I thought the talent was extraordinary, and I just kept turning to my husband going, she's still singing. She's still singing. She's singing again. And it was, of course, Adina. I mean, I just was like, she's unbelievable. And I was just, I mean, I had known her before because of Rent and a connection I had to that show.
Wow.
But wow. And I just thought it was so clever, and I loved it. And I loved everything about it.
So when did you go in for it after that?
I had a pre-screen, which I didn't get through. I think probably in 1995 or 6.
Wait, what's a pre-screen?
No, Susan's shaking her head. I know I had one audition, which
before 2000.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2000, and I'm in the wrong decade, Susan. In 2005 or 2006.
That it could have been.
Yeah, I think it was a pre-screen. 2005, I think.
What's a pre-screen? I've never heard that. I've never heard that for Broadway.
Oh yeah, I mean, Telsey was really looking, and they were seeing so many actresses, and I believe that it was just a music department member, and just seeing like is the right voice, you know, and the right type and everything.
I would think that's an audition. No.
That was an audition.
Oh, you're just calling it a pre-screen.
Yeah,
I'm getting caught up on the word.
The terminology. It's a pre-screen audition, like the first.
Sorry. I'm like, wow, something new.
Word for the day.
Yeah, pre-screen.
So didn't make it. And then I did a show called The Times They Are Changing, which was with Twyla Tharp. And Joe Mantello had come to see the show, and I was playing the female non-dancer actor-singer role. So I wasn't a dancer. I had to do pas de deux. Oh, you know, I was like, I did with Michael Arden, the wonderful Michael Arden.
Yeah.
So I worked hard to be able to do that well. But so Joe had seen the show, and he said, I want to see her for Elphaba Standby. And so I went in and I did the audition, and I thought, you know, I don't know that I have my voice feels like a viola or a string instrument, as opposed to a more of a horn, like a trumpet, like one of those incredible Broadway belters like Adina is, even though her voice is so beautifully rich and round. It has depth and texture to it.
Were you nervous? I mean, did you were like, when you saw that show, because I think of Elphaba and the music, and I just go, oh my God.
Oh yeah, of course. And I remember sitting outside the door and listening to all the voices and going, oh yeah, she'd be great. Yeah, oh yeah, listen to that. And of course I had my doubts. And then I was like, I think I said to my agent, we just need to let the wicked dream die. It's okay. Like, I don't know that that's my part, and it's okay. And then that next Monday, they called and said I was hired for the standby. So then I started to vocally work out, and it was never an easy thing for me, but I did make progress, and I did feel like I was able to act it well, and that I was able to connect with the other actors well, and that, you know, the
Who's your
singing.
Glenda on Broadway?
Well, Kendra Casaubon was there when I got there. She's brilliant. And then Annalee Ashford took over. And then Annalee and I went to Chicago to do the roles together full time. And then she went on to stay there a little bit longer when I left Chicago.
Yeah.
And that was that. So I got to do it a lot with Kendra, and then Annalee especially.
Yeah, that's so.
I learned so much from both of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one, you guys. Kendra Casaubon is also another pretty real, great actress, honest, hard worker. I associate directed her in Jacques Brel's Alive and Well Living in Paris, in Seattle. And I was like, yeah, that's, of course you two are together, because there's so many like different like people you can like pair up. That would have been amazing to see. I wish there was like clips of that or something. Is there?
I don't know. I used to call Equity and say, take down that bootleg, and they got so sick of hearing from me. So I gave up.
You gave up.
I don't know what's on there anymore.
Well, let's keep going. So Wicked was vocal rest.
No, self-care.
Sorry, self-care. That's right. And then okay, so let's do. You know what we didn't do was Aida.
Trust my skills.
I love it. It's 3 words. I'll take it.
Thanks.
Trust my skills. Yes. So you felt like in the end you trusted your skills after that.
Yeah. I was playing a character who I was a bit of an athletic gym rat, kind of like poo-pooing all the sort of like nails and hair and, you know, all of the stuff. I was like,
Amneris.
I was not that girl at all. And then I got Amneris, and I was like, I better invest in this right quick, because she is all about that and all about appearances and fashion. I couldn't care less about fashion. And I still, you know, my wardrobe is not at the envy of anybody. But she just, and I remember the producer saying to me after I'd gotten in there, he said, when I first saw you, I was like, she's the hire, you know? And, but just through the training that I'd had and some work, it became one of the most fun sort of stretch jobs that I'd ever had. And I completely bought it hook, line, and sinker, and just enjoyed it so much to play someone so girly and shallow until she goes on this arc.
Yeah.
From princess to queen.
How did it come to this? Oh, I just would have loved to have seen you do that. It's over, never begin. All right, and then let's just hit it with what you just recently got to do, Dear Evan Hansen.
Heart. Just heart.
Mm-hmm.
My heart was opened and broken, and opened and broken, and also superb writing. When you have writing like that, all I had to do was do some homework and get into the present moment and live it and get out of its way.
Get out of its way.
And just get me out of the way of the story, because the story was so well written. Some shows that aren't as crafty, you have to work hard to make them work. Some material you have to sort of use your actor magic.
Yeah. Come up with some secrets, actor secrets that'll help move it along.
But with Dear Evan Hansen, it took care of all of the actors so beautifully. And I just felt like it was the right fit vocally. I never stressed about singing it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, what was your self-care for that? Like, because I just wanted people to hear, like, you guys heard that if you're playing a lead like Elphaba, because that's no joke. Like every day, and then you're having vocal rest, and then you get your massage and your acupuncture, and then you're quiet. Were you happy during that moment sometimes? Like where do you find, like, just not speaking?
I think I try to find moments of true gratitude. Um, I try I try to find gratitude every day, and I knew what a privilege it was to be doing that role, and that it wasn't easy for me, but that I had been tasked with that, and that it was my job to do my best.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
um, there were so many moments of joy, and there were so many moments of ow, my body
Well,
my
yeah.
body hurt and
Yeah.
was very tired. But again, it taught me what I needed to take care of myself.
You
And
don't seem
that's
like the
key.
person to, Lisa, you don't, you're really humble, and you don't seem like the person that would actually, I can't imagine you complaining a lot during that.
Probably not publicly. I
Yeah.
think that when I got home at night, and
Yeah.
my sweet husband would try to rub my shoulders, and I would just instantly start weeping because of the tension, um, uh, and just some anxiety that I went through.
Yeah.
I also wasn't feeding myself properly, so I lost 13 pounds in 2.5 weeks when I started playing the role full time. And that was because I didn't know how to feed myself for that kind of role.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I needed beef, I needed red meat, and like sweet potato fries.
Yeah.
So every day, 6 days
Right.
a week during my run, I would have like a burger and sweet
Yeah.
potato fries, and I never gained an ounce.
Wow.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
when you, and then we'll just wrap it up with Broadway, but what is Broadway? 2 words, 3 words? What is Broadway?
Magic. 2 words. Magic and not all there is.
So what would you say to, what do you say to your students when they're like, I just want to make it on Broadway?
Go for it. Go for it. Get to New York, work on your skills, never stop working on your skills. When you come to that fork in the road where it's like, I need to strengthen my range as a singer, I need to be a stronger singer, then work hard. Get the right teacher and work at it. Or for me, it was like, I'm not a dancer. So it's like, I would tell myself, get into dance class. Um, and just keep studying, and work on yourself. Like, usually what's in the way is, other than a real lack of ability. If someone doesn't have, um, let's face it, one needs to be in musical theater on Broadway, unless you're a character actor who's not being asked to sing in a role in something that, is a non-singing role, you need to be able to sing well, and you need to be able to act well. And so often you need to be able to dance well, depending on the role. So if I had no ability to sing, or if I was an untrained, unskilled actor, I never would have gotten the jobs I've gotten. So I've worked hard, but I'm not the best. I was
Just really good.
resilient and persistent. And until I decided, you know what? I think I'm meant to teach. I think I'm meant to help other people reach their goals. And then I found this next career, which is thrilling. But usually what's in the way wasn't my lack of skills or ability. It was my negative self-narrative. So do the work on yourself that you need to do, however you need to do it. I mean, I have a bookshelf of self-help books. You wouldn't believe my collection.
Me too. They're all like right here. Man's search for meaning.
It's impressive, our collections, I'm sure. Yes. So like, do the self-searching, do the fearless self-searching. I'm not talking about self-obsession. I'm talking about freeing oneself from self-obsession. When I realize how I'm getting in my own way in my head, then I'm able to be free and stop thinking about myself all the time and think, I have a contribution to make. I'm here to give my contribution. And it may not be what you want or need, but I've got a contribution. And yes, I can feel a disappointment if I don't get what I thought I wanted, but this doesn't define me. And, but you know, I just turned 50. So it took me many years to get to this place. So especially as young people, we want to impress, we want to make our mark, we want to get those reinforced, you know, yeses. And that, you know, it's how do I stay kind of in love with myself and believe in myself, even when I'm getting no for an answer again and again and again. And that is really up to each individual to figure out how they're going to find their way through that. But just know, like, I had a friend who's called me recently, and I guess it was a while back, but she hadn't worked in 2 years. And before that, she'd had a beautiful role in a beautiful show on Broadway. And she was going through all kinds of self-doubt, but she hadn't told anybody. So she was telling me that she was having self-doubts and insecurities and wondering if she'd ever work again. And she's like, is this anything you can relate to? And I was like, that's what everybody feels. You know? Why haven't you been talking to people? Because everybody needs to share when they're frustrated. And what I see about my Broadway colleagues and our Broadway colleagues, Chrissy, is there's so many people who are like, I'm totally insecure.
Totally.
You know, they're so open about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm scared. I haven't worked in a while, you know, and it's so beautiful to be real like that.
Yeah, it is not to be, it's not about being perfect, because none of that exists anyway. This whole like thing that we've got it all together, which is why we're doing these chats, because these chats are for us to be able to be real with each other and real with, so everybody hears that, and that students hear that. And then it's just, guys, just life. It's our artistic, crazy life. Where was the magical moment that made you say, I mean, did you really just say, I don't want to do this anymore and I want to teach? I mean, when was that moment? Or is it now you'll teach and perform, and you'll teach and you'll perform?
I hope that I'll teach and perform, or teach, perform, and direct.
Correct. Sorry. Yes.
Yes. It was the summer of 2015, I think. I had some experiences, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore for a while.
What were the experiences? You don't have to draw on it too much, but I mean, I just want to draw upon like the failure, if there's any kind of failure moments like we all have.
It wasn't fun.
Okay.
I stopped having fun. And I just felt like this warm hand pushing me on my lower back, like, try something else. You need a break from this. Because my own attitude I wasn't excited when I got an audition. I would be like, oh no. So that's a problem. And so I was like, what? I
can just say that I completely relate to you in that. I mean, my mom died, and for me, when my mom died, things just changed completely, and my whole life shifted, and I couldn't believe, I literally was playing Cassie on stage, and I was crying off the stage, getting off of it. was like, I don't want this pressure. I don't want this expectation. I don't want this. And then I'd like freak out because I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want this? What do you mean I don't want this? You know, like, this is my whole life, you know? But I love that image of like a warm hand, a hand on the back, on the small of your back saying,
just take a break, try something else. And I tried teaching and directing and I loved it. And I decided to apply for tenure track positions just as an experiment. I think that I've learned finally to treat life as an exploration rather than getting it right or getting it wrong. Like I can go away. You know, I had gone away for a year to go to grad school. I left the business to get my MFA and I came back and I was working all the time and I had such wonderful opportunities. Doors were open to me because I had my master's that weren't open to me before as an actor, and I had such a good time. But there was just that one summer where I was like, I need to try something else because something was telling me, my gut was telling me. And so now I'm hoping that I get to have both.
yeah.
And I have had both.
Oh.
And I don't know that it will continue that way, but I know that it will continue in a way which will be just great. You know, it may not be fancy, it may not be sparkly, it may be quiet and simple and intimate, and it may be doing something completely like less me in the spotlight, which is totally fine with me. And I just trust that it's all going to be fine. It's not easy being an actor and not knowing what's next. So it's good to develop other skills which, you know, you can use to make money, you know, when times get hard, and even feel like a sense of purpose in between shows.
I mean, I think we all want to wake up and feel like we have a sense of purpose, you know?
Yes.
And I like what you just said about what resonates to me is you saying, like, even for myself, listening to you about how it's about, I want to live my life in exploration and not about getting it right. And I think that that's still like plays in for me too. Like, what is it? A little bit of like getting it right. Like, what is getting it right for Chrissy is right now? Desperately trying to hold on to some control of something, you know?
Right. What if we could just let go and treat it all like a grand experiment and be fascinated by it and be like, oh, okay. Yeah. And now I come from a great place of privilege right now. Mm-hmm. You know, I have a job. The job hasn't stopped paying me.
Right.
There's going to be classes in the fall to teach. So I understand that I'm very privileged and that not everyone is so lucky right now. Mm-hmm. And a hard time of uncertainty. And I think all the mood swings are understandable. And however anybody feels during this time is valid.
Valid, yeah.
Did you want to have the student, your students ask questions, Chrissy?
Oh yes, we do. Sorry, we are. I wanted to make sure I had just 2 more questions I was going to ask you. You did a little bit of television. Did you any words on that? A couple words, 2 words, 3 words? Did you like it? I just saw a few things in here, like person of interest, as the world turns. You were recurring on that. That's fun. Soap operas are interesting, aren't they?
I would say I want more experience. I felt awkward. And okay. I think that practice helps progress.
BAC students, yay! Did you hear what you just said? Practice makes progress. Exactly, yes.
Yeah, so I would love more opportunities. I was supposed to do a short film in April, and I didn't get the opportunity because of everything shut down, but hopefully.
Oh, you'd be phenomenal. You should. I'm surprised. Yeah, I would think
I see a camera and I'm like, negative self-awareness. So I just need more time.
I'm going to help you. I'll help you with that.
You could. You're fantastic.
I love that stuff. I love it so much. Okay. And then just 2 questions. What does teaching teach you?
teaches me that the technique I rely on works.
Nice. What does directing teach you?
I love actors. I trust actors, and I can trust my own instincts.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, I've been directing and choreographing, but I reached out to you. It was a thought. It was a thought at one point. I don't know.
We're hoping to work together.
We're hoping, yeah. Directing, choreographing will be fun. Okay, so let's take some questions, you guys. We have like 5-10 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. It's just been so lovely. It's been amazing. So maybe just can you raise your hand or what is that thing that they do? The hand thingy, or I don't know.
They can raise their hand virtually or just wave it in front of the camera.
Yeah, let me get it on.
I see. Is it Mayan?
Yes, Mayan.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't. No one's ever said it right on the first time. Oh my gosh.
Good for you. I did not.
Okay, so across all of these productions that you've been a part of, what's your perfect half-hour call look like? So is there any routine that you had? Was there something that was consistent throughout everything that you've done? So this just half-hour call that you do.
Everything's been a little different depending on the demands of the role. So, and also the makeup for Wicked starts at about 25 after and takes about 40 minutes. So I would usually finish, they'd finish with me at 5 after or just around places a little after. So that I needed to do a vocal warm-up and a physical warm-up before I sat down in the makeup chair. So that was more like an hour and 15 minutes of a preparation time. For Dear Evan Hansen, it was pretty consistent. I would always get there early and do a physical warm-up. And that was yoga Pilates generally, or strength training, something to get me moving. And then they'd call half hour and I would do my vocal warm-up, which was about 8 minutes long. I would prepare I would get dressed to the degree that I was supposed to before the wig got on. And then at 1:45, the hair person would come in and start working on getting me ready for the wig and putting it on. And then the dresser would come in. And so the three of us had our bonding time from about 5 till places. And I had the intimate time with the wig person for about 10 minutes before that. So it was 15 minutes of my private warm-up and 15 minutes of social time prep. And you fall in love with the hair and makeup people. And the dressers, the wardrobe. They are such special people. And if it weren't for them, they take care of the actors in a way which allow us to have what we need to do the job and not worry about stuff that we shouldn't be thinking about. And without them, we'd all be basket cases, more than we already are. So that was my typical warm-up. If I was sharing a dressing room, like Christy and I shared a space, I would try to do my vocal warm-up before, or in that particular show, I didn't go on for quite a while. So I would do my vocal warm-up after everybody left to do the opening number. Figure out what you need, physical, vocal warm-up.
We had a shared space with all the dancers, and then they had like it was like a big dressing room, and then there was like a tucked side room. It was just the two of us, but yeah,
cool. big group, wonderful dancers.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Sadie.
Hi, so I'm Sadie, and I live in Connecticut, so it's right by the Goodspeed, which is awesome. And I'm actually doing a research project on Phillida Lloyd, and I know that you were in Mamma Mia under the direction of Phillida Lloyd, so I was just wondering if you had any, what makes her style unique or something along the lines of that.
Well, I don't know Phillida, unfortunately. I wish I could be more helpful to you. She did not have any direct contact with me as someone who was replacing several years into the run. The associate director named Martha Banta, she put me into the show. And she was preserving Phillida's vision for the show. So I felt like I was getting, from the mouth of Phillida. However, what was even more special about that show and how it was run was they really wanted everyone to bring themselves to the roles and make it their own. So I replaced Beth Level in the show, and Beth and I could not be more different. I mean,
Oh my God, so different.
she's a comedic genius, and every opportunity, and she's so real, and she's so grounded, and she's so fierce and ferocious and brave, and she has beautiful timing, and she can make any bit work like gangbusters. And if you give me a bit, you can expect it to die. Right? So, like, don't give me a bit. I will find the comedy in my own way. And they were so lovely about it there. They were like, you don't have to do that bit with the hairdryer or whatever. You can just, and I found my own funny. And they really wanted it to be authentic. And that means bringing my essence to the role of Donna and not trying to put on somebody else's idea of Donna. So they're smart. And so I would say Phillida, if she set things up that way, obviously she's very, very bright. And she also took a pretty new art form, genre of musical theater, and made it a smash hit and made it somehow work with ABBA songs.
I didn't know it was a female director. That's amazing. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good research, Sadie.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have, yes, hold on. Let me, go ahead, Stacy. Yeah. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Stacy. Can you unmute yourself?
Oh, yeah, hold on. There you go.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
It's so good to hear from you guys. Thanks for doing this. I was also wondering what my question is there any advice that you would have for actors during this crazy time, either to focus on themselves or focus on their career?
Well, I think you came in a little bit on the later end, which is totally fine, right? Yeah, but yeah, go ahead. I think she talked a little bit about that, but go ahead.
It's a great question, Stacy, and it's so good to see your face. Stacy's an alumni of our program at Missouri State, and she's just phenomenal talent. I would say focus on what makes you feel sane and well cared for. So if that is, I don't feel like everyone should feel this pressure to produce. If you don't feel like writing a new play or learning an instrument or, what makes
6 classes from BAC this week. Which Rachel is doing, yeah. But if you don't feel like it, don't do it.
Right. But I mean, I took a playwriting class a couple of weekends ago, which was a 6-hour playwriting workshop. I've done little concerts, like contributing videos of songs. I think it's an opportunity. This is an opportunity to go inside in the quiet and say, what do I need to get through this in a way which is going to leave me more sane, more centered, if that's even possible, on the other side of this. So if that's Netflix with cupcakes, or if it's a rigorous exercise regimen, or singing in the shower, hiking, just connecting with nature, what is it that you want to do? And don't feel any pressure to use this time to learn Mandarin and perfect your double turn, just what works for you. And
don't worry about it when you're seeing a lot of stuff like on, when a lot of people are posting stuff, that's what's working for them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Instead of it looking like, oh my God, I should be doing that, they're just they're playing their music, they're singing their songs, they're dancing their things because that's what they need to do, or they're going to go crazy. So if you think about it in that way, instead of it like the opposite, then you can, and just don't look at it so much. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Right. That can help you too, to do what she's saying. Wake up in the morning, get in a journal, start a routine. Don't get on your phone, right? Like just get off of it for a little bit, and that'll help you too.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
It's so good to see you, Stacey.
Oh, sorry. Yay. Okay, and then I just have, let's see, it's Rachel. wave your hand, Rachel. You said I had a question. I was on another talk and they were talking about dealing with mistakes. It's about failing and not letting it hurt as much. I'm interested in hearing your take on that. Rachel, is that what I'm saying? What you want to say?
Okay. Failing and making mistakes and not taking it so hard. Is that the essence?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I think that gets better with age, you know. Like I was so hard on myself and so prone to embarrassment. I was afraid, and now I'm like, you know, so I cracked on the note, you know, join the rest of the amazing women who've cracked on a note at a critical moment in the song. You know, just having, I mean, I worked with Taylor Trench, who was playing Evan, and Taylor is one of the most brilliant actors I've ever worked across from. And at the end of the show, sometimes we would hug, and he would be during curtain call, and he would go, stinky poo-poo tonight, stinky poo-poo. And I'm like, him on a stinky poo-poo night is better than the rest of us could ever dream of. He's so brilliant. But the ability to laugh at ourselves. You know, I heard the story of a brilliant leading lady at the end of one of those big songs in a big show, holding the note, had a hairball in her throat, had to stop and go like really loud and then start again. And her response was, well, that happens. And so it's about radical self-compassion, radical self-acceptance. And, you know, I think age helps, because you get through times that feel embarrassing and you're like, oh, I survived that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to have a sense of humor, to take the work seriously, but not take oneself too seriously. And that can sometimes just come with age.
Yep. Awesome. And I think we have one more. Let's do Megan.
I just wanted to say hi. And I wanted to see how you were just like doing in this quarantine and just how you're feeling and everything. That's all I wanted to ask.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I feel like, you know, I feel so grateful. I've written a daily gratitude list for over 7 years, and it has changed the way I think. There are days when I'm very concerned about friends, colleagues. I lost my father during the pandemic. Of a colleague who's very, very sick with COVID-19 right now, and has been through a very hard time. And there's a lot to grieve, and there's a lot to celebrate in life, even if it's just the way that flowers are everywhere and birds are everywhere. That we have these opportunities to connect as human beings, and that we will someday gather together again in theaters. I have no doubt about it. I don't know when, and I don't know how, but it will happen. So I think my faith keeps me joyful, even when I'm grieving or scared. Gratitude, practice of gratitude has changed my life. And I may not be able to control the first thought that comes in my head, but I certainly can not take that negative thought and run across the football field with it. I can stop and just thank the universe, you know, for all the gifts I have, and focus on them. You know, for instance, when my father passed, I was able to say, well, I remember these great memories with him, and he's free now from whatever pain and suffering he was experiencing. And so I think it's a good practice. So I'm surprisingly well. I had some disappointing financial news this past weekend, and I wasn't feeling great yesterday. And I was like, I'm not going to force myself to feel something other than I feel. I feel what I feel. I'm not going to swim around in self-pity. But if I need to feel some disappointment and a little bit of anxiety around this, that's understandable. So to not judge other people or myself for how we're handling this, to suspend judgment, is really helping me not feel so angry. Like today I went to AT&T and nobody had a mask on except for me. I can't control what other people do. I can just control what I can do, and I can assert my needs as I see them arise. But if I spend too much time being pissed off at other people for how they're behaving and what they're doing during this pandemic, there's plenty of reasons to feel angry. So I try not to dwell, but I let feelings come and go as they come and go. It's a long answer to your short question.
Great one. Yes. Yeah. Hi, Ellen. Yes.
I'm just going to take a minute to say hello.
Ellen, hi.
I met Lisa when I took Craig's class, and it was one of the greatest things I ever did for myself. And Lisa, this has been a joy. Chrissy, thank you for doing this and asking this lovely lady in, because I'll tell you, hearing your stories, and I have to tell you, Denny Doherty was my Schultz in Cabaret in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Just for those of you who don't know who Denny Doherty is or was, because he's passed on, he was the Papa in The Mamas and the Papas. It was John and Denny. So we toured.
I did not know he passed. I saw him in New York when they were doing that tour, when they had done revive or kind of grouping together, and that was the last time I saw him. So I didn't know he had passed. But anyway, I'm not going to. I will be messaging you, girl.
Okay.
Because I just want to talk to you, and please give my best to Craig, and thank you so much for this lovely evening.
You're so welcome.
Every minute of it.
Oh, it's
the best to you and your future careers. Just be strong. Don't give up. Because tell you, it's exciting time.
How do you guys know each other again? Thank you,
Craig,
sir.
We met in Craig's class, and I was able to see Ellen and her beautiful talent week after week for quite a while. It was beautiful. Yeah, good to see you.
Head out. So thank you again.
Thank you. Anybody else? Are we good? Marissa, I saw you kind of wanting to raise your hand, but I couldn't tell.
Oh, yeah. I just didn't want to interrupt anybody else. And this is sort of a loaded question, but answer it as quickly as you feel you can.
We're mentoring Marissa right now in our mentorship program,
Yeah. So I'm wondering what one of the first things you do when you're approaching a new role and just trying to step into the shoes of that character.
My entire technique is based on Uta Hagen's book, Respect for Acting. So if you haven't read it, read it. I type out what I say about what my character says about my character, what other people say about my character, and then there's clues to the character. And then I start working through given circumstances. So for instance, in Dear Evan Hansen, there was a blocking move with Evans where I would look inside of his backpack in the first scene. Well, why did I do that? Because the director told me to? No, because he tends to leave his goldfish crackers in the bottom of his backpack and I need to fish them out. So I start using my imagination to fill out all of these details so that it's not general, because generality is the death of life, inner life. And specificity lets us have this inner life as a character, which just, I think, elevates the work. And so it's a lot of written work. For Heidi Hansen, I think I had 50 pages, single-spaced autobiography. That's how I work. Other people don't do that, and they are brilliant. So it depends on what works for you. For me, if I don't do that work, I feel general and like I'm making faces and just playing pretend in a way which is not specific and deep and rich and nuanced and the work that I want to do, no matter what kind of part it is. So I do a lot of Uta Hagening. I highly recommend her book, Respect for Acting.
She got it. Well, good. You guys, I have this one last thing to say. I'm so glad to see some of you on here that are a part of, like, very, very much a part of our community, which is just so awesome. And thank you for those of you who did join us that we didn't know. It's lovely to see your comments as well, Susan. So thank you for being here and in support of Lisa. Lisa, the last question I wanted to ask you is that, I don't know, maybe when you were 12, when the director looked at you and said, you know, if you could talk to that little girl and you could go back in time and say to her about your future life, what would you say to her?
Don't give up. Don't give up. It's gonna get rough, but it's gonna get better. Yeah, it got rough, but I made it. And I sometimes look at what some of my early years were like, and I'm like, wow, I'm a survivor. So yeah, I would say don't give up. Even if it gets worse, it'll get better soon enough.
Cool. Well, Lisa, I'm glad you didn't give up, because your spirit is very special. And I just thank you for doing this. And I don't know what I just got excited about reaching out to people in my community, and I want my students to see how important it is to, like, open your heart to other people and let them in. And, like, we only knew each other for 5 weeks, but I knew your heart was good. So thank you for inspiring me to be a better teacher, to be a better person, to kind of calm it down. I got a lot out of this tonight, and I think everyone else did too. So if we could all just say thank you. You can unmute yourselves, you guys, and say thank you to Lisa for her time, so she can hear your voices.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You so much.
Thank you all. This was just a delight.
Thank you so much. This was so wonderful.
So
Thank you so
wonderful.
much,
It's
Lisa.
important that you guys share your stories and that you commune and you keep doing this, you know, and that this was a special one tonight. And I really hope that you see, like, if any of you ever do think about education later on down the line, or even now with, like, a little kid, or, like, just knowing that you can give back to another person in your life and be a contribution, like Lisa said, it gives and it gives tenfold. That I hope for you to not be so self-obsessed. That you really do care about the work, you care about the people, which is why, circling back around, Broadway arts community. Broadway have the dream, do the training in the arts, community have your community. Yeah. So we love you, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you
a
all.
great weekend, you guys. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.